liquidity is really going to start pouring in, in the coming months, like you're still really early. Like you're definitely not too late.
In that vein, I want to live up to the title because I do want to talk macro on memes. And Keith, when you're done with your shower, let us know. I explicitly said I'm going to shill a couple tickers. I want to talk about but I also want to talk about Sui on a macro level why it makes sense. I want it to make sense. I want it to make sense for the topic of why on a macro level. But before we do that, I want to just go to Frankie. Here's the question I want to pose. I know you're going to know this like the back. I know you're going to know this like the back of your hand. Share a lot of these charts and share a lot of these charts. You don't have to put them in the comments. You don't have to put them in the comments, bro. You can pin it straight up to the jumbo. Here's the question that I get. While I was on vacay, I got like this. Jules, do you think the top is in? Jules, do you think the top is in? It's feeling very bearish. It's feeling very bearish. People are saying it is 9, selling May and go away. Selling May and go away. I think there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be calling the top. A lot of people are going to show that they don't have an understanding of this market. You talk a lot about volatility, which I love. Volatility, which I love. But could you share on a macro level what you see where I sit on the things I'm looking at on a macro level? There is no possible future outcome where this all wraps up in 4 months, knowing the framework of what's yet to come. But I would love to just get some of your thoughts on that. Then we'll go to Keith, then we'll go to Alan. Then we'll go to Keith, then we'll go to Alan.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to find a way. I can't pin anything up. I can't like leave a comment. I can't like leave it off to share it. Maybe I'll have to share it.
Frank, if you tweet something out, DM it to me. I'll pin it to the top.
Okay. Yep. I'll just DM you some charts real quick. We're not overdone yet. We're not overdone yet. There is still a lot of liquidity. I want to find the charts, and then I want to find the charts, and then I can just walk you guys through them. But we have really just kind of started. We've been in the rate cutting cycle. For a while. There's still a lot of liquidity to come into the market. There's still a lot of refinancing to do. There's still, I think, a lot of money printing. Stimulating to come. One of the reasons that we haven't seen that pretty significant drawdown, because the dollar is just incredibly strong right now. It's just too strong. It's just too strong, and that's bad for really everybody except the United States. And it's even bad for investors because it's called the dollar wrecking ball. It's called the dollar wrecking ball. And essentially, when the dollar is too strong, other countries can't. If you stimulate to base your currency into a strong dollar, into a dollar denominated system, then your currency is going to absolutely nuke. And so that's the thing that I think is going to post up at the top. It's a chart of the DXY, and it's a comparison to this cycle versus 2016, 2017 when Trump took office back then. He's a very markets focused, very market centered, president leader. That's where his thing is. Dan Tapiero is a big macro guy. There's only one president. There's only one lifetime in his lifetime that knew where the S&P closed. The S&P every day at 5 o'clock. Every day at 5 o'clock. That's Trump. So markets were bullish on that. And I think that's why the dollar is just heated up right now. But everyone realizes that the dollar needs to cool off. Made comments in 2016 when the dollar was hot. 2016 when the dollar was hot. 2017, I think he made a comment in June, July of this year that we really just don't want a strong dollar right now. So that will eventually go down. That will eventually go down. Global liquidity to rise, because even though no currency units come out of circulation, a strong dollar will essentially rob other countries of their purchasing power. And so you can see that first chart up there is basically the U.S. election right there. The U.S. election right there.
Hey, real quick, Frankie, because I wanted to have this is what I love crypto about. This is what I love crypto about. I'm sorry to cut you off. I want you to explain why global liquidity matters, because that's a term you're going to keep using.
And what's global? What is global liquidity? What is global liquidity? What does that even
Exactly.
mean?
And the reason I'm cutting you off to interject that, I want you to finish and this is why I love crypto. This is why I love crypto. Things about the world that have been here for a long time. Until you hop into a space, until you hop directly affects the crypto market. Directly affects the crypto market. I don't want to just assume that people naturally understand that simple way. And then let's carry on. And then let's carry on.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially, global liquidity is really just the amount of money. Is really just the amount of money, the amount of currency units, and the amount of currency units. But it's easier. There's some other things, but think of it as the amount of money in the system. The amount of money in the system. And as that increases, and progress where more currency units are created, more currency liquidity rises. Bitcoin follows it very closely. You can see it in that second chart that I shared up top. Global liquidity. And then also a Bitcoin chart, and then also a Bitcoin chart, and they follow very closely. Bitcoin can essentially price that in. It can price in the debasement. It can price in the debasement of currency. So, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? There are, we're burdened by debt. The entire system runs on debt. The entire system runs on debt. So we have to continue to print. We spend more than we spend more than we earn. So we have to continue to print. So we have to continue to print. And the amount of currency and the amount of currency units. It's not even a direct. It's not even a direct. It's not a direct tax. It's not a direct tax. They tell you, oh, we're gonna. They tax you this amount. You're going to tax you front-facing tax, and they're upfront about it. Instead, they surreptitiously rob you of your purchasing power, by printing more currency units into existence. They spend those into circulation. And as a result, the price of everything, the price of because the dollars are becoming worth less, and so. There's two reasons really why price assets go up. It's because they catch a bid. They're desirable. They come in and they buy them. And then also assets go up because they're measured in currency units. And so it's almost like it's almost like an optical. When I say I'm going to say it a couple times, I'm going to say is that they're rising. I'm sure is that they're rising. And so. Bitcoin rises optically, but it also rises from investors who consider it a hedge against inflation, protection from currency debasement. What Bitcoin can do really is it's a measuring stick, and we can point to it. We can point to something that we can all agree has value, and isn't going to be manipulated. It isn't going to be manipulated. It can price in all of the economic activity, the debasement of currency, the debasement of currency, and wealth creation. Because the ironic thing here is, since we're here to learn, go off on this since we're here to learn. It's funny because real wealth creation isn't getting taxed. Like that isn't getting taxing your citizens, like getting money from them. That's not real money from them. That's not real wealth creation. Wealth creation is being able to do more, and so a windmill, a wheelbarrow, this phone that we're on, this allows creates and stimulates economic activity. It allows us to do more for less. That's real wealth creation. But the ironic thing is. Making things more available, making things more abundant, actually drives the price of things down. You're creating abundance. You're creating a bigger supply. Less resistance to do these things. So prices are naturally going to be driven. But the way our economic model is that we have massive leverage taken out against these assets. Even though the price of things should be going down, people want their houses to go up. People want their pensions to go up. They want their 401ks to go up. They want their 401ks to go up. Everything in the system is not priced correctly. But we're never going to fix that. But we're not going to elect that. They're not going to elect people. They're not going to elect people who are going to fix that. The only way to deal with that is the only way to keep prices going up. In a situation where they really should be going down over time is to continue to inflate, and to drive those things up, through currency debasement. That's kind of the game we're playing. And so really, like we're fighting gravity. The free market is pulling the price of things down. The economy has to keep driving them up. As long as we have this, we're going to continue to print money. We're going to continue to print money. We have a GDP spend more than we earn in tax. We spend more than we earn in tax. And it's really a symptom of demographics. I can share another one here. This is actually one of the most important things in crypto. in crypto, and it's that everything is governed essentially by demographics. How many workers you have, it's essentially, it's Raoul Paul's kind of formula for it, and it's population, workforce, productivity, how many people are working in the population, and then debt. And those are the things that make a GDP. So if you look at this chart, it's the U.S. labor force participation rate over U.S. government debt as a percentage of GDP. And what you're seeing is that as less people are participating in economic activity, government debt goes up to match that, because we don't have enough workers in the system. And that's why we're having, that's why we want immigration. And that's why, there's a whole thing going on now. I only, Twitter tries to throw it at me. I have to mute the account. But, essentially we're upset about, immigration or something like that. But we need that. We need that for workers. We need that to increase GDP. But really, we can use this to our advantage. None of this is really important to any of us, except how do we make money from it? And what we understand, so we have a GDP problem. We have this problem where we need prices to continue to go up. We need to continue to inflate. We don't have the actual workers to do it. So we have to add money into circulation to achieve this. And the result of that is that AI and robotics are essentially going to be the way, I believe, and many people believe, the way we get out of this. And I'm landing it here, but this is an important point. And it's the reason why all the best performing assets in the world are stocks that are indexing those technologies. AI and robotics is catching a massive bid right now. It's propping up the entire stock market because people are starting to figure out that the only way out of this problem, this demographics problem, the fact that we don't have enough workers and the workers that we have are not productive enough, is to solve it through AI and robotics. And it's going to change everything. And so we have about 5 or 6 years, I believe, to make as much money as we can before everything changes. Because what we're going to have is infinite workers and infinite knowledge in the form of robotics and AI, and it's going to completely change the way we live our lives. And it's going to be pretty profound. And I know that was kind of a lot, and I feel like I kind of went down a few different rabbit holes there. But essentially, it's understanding that the big macro trend is leaning towards AI and robotics because of a very fundamental issue that is happening. The biggest problem that we face economically is the fact we just don't have enough people, and we have so much debt, and this thing's, eventually it's going to collapse. But we can fix that through AI and robotics, and I think that's where we can identify, good places to make money.
Now, the reason this makes sense, I want to bridge a gap, and then we'll go to Keith, and then we'll go to Alan. I want to bridge a gap here. Even though, because we've said macro on memes are controlled by BTC Big Daddy.
Yes.
And we can dive into on that as far as Bitcoin dominance and everything like that. That's a much larger conversation. We'll see if we can round back to it. But see, the thing is, maybe the one thing you can take away from that is when you see people getting shitty on the timeline, nuking bags at the bottom, and then it reverses, and then it's like, oh man, it's because you're participating in a money market. Even if you don't understand these things, you should have a passion to understand this nerdy shit. And I say that with respect, Frankie. And the reason you should is because you're jumping into a wheelhouse. You're jumping into a machine with almost an infinite amount of parts. You don't need to memorize the location of every single part, but by understanding how this beast works that you don't understand bidding in meme coins, it helps you make more logical, less emotion-filled decisions. And when it comes to a bottom line of you making $100,000, $1 million, or 10 million, or 100 million this cycle, when you are following the herd who does not understand the cogs or the wheels that are at motion because they don't understand this nerdy shit because they only care about memes, when you have an edge against the herd by understanding some of these things.
Yeah, I want to add too. One term that there's many things you could have taken away right there. Let me give you at least one. Liquidity flow. So this concept, this thing, and it does exist. It's very important for you to understand this monster called liquidity flow. All it simply means is, where is money coming from and where is it going next? So if you're in real estate, let's say I'm in Dallas. So for me right now, Dallas is interesting because like the city, it's like 10 million people across the metroplex, and even in the outskirts, the prices are going nuclear. Like 45 minutes out from downtown, real estate valuation continues to blow up. Almost every major city is experiencing the same thing. Why? Because people can't afford a $1.1 million house that's only 2,000 square feet inside of Dallas city limits. So they've got to drive out 45 minutes out from city center, and that's where liquidity is flowing. So any developer, any real estate developer or investor that bought the bottom of the real estate market back in 2009, 2010, back when 30 minutes away from Dallas, it was all country and fields and like nothing was going on out there. Those guys and gals, they bought that real estate and that land for a fraction of what it's worth today because liquidity is flowing from the center of Dallas out to the outskirts of Dallas. And that happens in crypto, stocks, businesses across the entire planet. As you and I are talking right now, liquidity is flowing. There are hundreds of trillions of dollars sloshing around the planet. That's called liquidity, and it's flowing into different segments and sectors of the planet. As a meme head, what you are interested in is how much liquidity, how many trillions of dollars are coming into crypto in general. And then out of those trillions of dollars, how many hundreds of billions are going to flow into Bitcoin, into alts, and then eventually memes. And where are we in the liquidity flow cycle? And there is a cycle. Where are we in the timeline? Oh, and there is a timeline. Where are we along this path and this journey? Is it something ambiguous or is it something that like I can actually put my hands on? And the answer is it's actually something you could put your hands on based on historical past performance. So it's very important that you understand that there's this thing out there called liquidity flow. You need to understand where is money coming from and when will it end up inside of the assets that I'm personally investing in? How long does it typically take for that money to flow into whatever assets I'm invested in? And why am I confident that any amount of liquidity is going to flow into whatever asset that I'm investing in? These are things that will help you create your own hypothesis, help create your own thesis, and will give you strength and confidence and conviction when things aren't quite going exactly as you thought that they would.
Oh my gosh. I want to go to Keith, but I just have to. I'm going to come back to this chart that's pinned up top a little bit later because this is exactly what he's saying, but I'll nail it with this. Sticking with the Dallas and land development, right? If you're in memes right now, you are 120 miles outside on the edge of Dallas. Like you're not even in the you're not even considered to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area anymore. At this point in the cycle, with a fundamental understanding of how this market works, when we talk about liquidity flow, this is why the buddy that DM'd me 6 paragraphs, if anybody had come to me before and they're like, bro, such and such blue chip meme coin, I'm down 40%, and it's a sizable amount. I've never seen this amount of money. I went from $1 million to 500,000. Okay, I'm gonna nuke this, and then I could tell almost anybody like, bro, that is a horrible decision right now. Why? Because of a fundamental understanding of where we're at in the cycle, and it's not guaranteed, right? I'm just using historical data. I can't control if like North Korea decides to go to war with America. So there's outliers to this, right? But you have to have a framework. Why do you have to have a framework? Because if you don't, you're just a sheep, bro. That's what you are. You are a sheep. You are a part of the herd, and you will do whatever anyone with 100,000 followers says to do on the timeline because you're impressed by a follower count and the fact that they've been here since Bitcoin was minted, but they ain't sharing their P&L with you, and they haven't made jack shit in the past 6 months. I'm just being honest. Like, you are a sheep if you do not understand. So the question is, do you want to be a sheep, or do you want to be the fucking shepherd? Do you want to run the herd? Do you want to direct it? Do you want to be out in front? So if you're in memes right now, you are 120 miles outside of town. And I have a buddy who invested in a property 120 miles out from one of the largest cities in America. bought it for $200,000 10 years ago, just got it appraised at $1.1 million. Like, there is a science to this stuff with memes. And a lot of people rotated out of Doge and SHIB before they went full nuclear, as Henoch calls it, because they didn't understand the market and they were bored with price and they faded generational wealth because they don't care about studying the market that they're in. Let's go to Keith, and then I have so much more to share on that, but this is straight freaking alpha. Keith, what's up, my man?
My head's starting to hurt. So much knowledge. It's swelling. What's that?
Whatever you wanted to say, and also on a macro level, why SUI makes sense.
I said I think we're all suffering with a little encephalopathy right now because our brains are just about to explode out of our craniums now with all that alpha.
Keith, are you in neuroscience? Because your medical jokes are hilarious, bro.
I'm an anesthesiologist, and then I do interventional pain. But yeah, I work with neurosurgeons, neurologists, so it's always on my mind. But no, the alpha, and I think the reason why these spaces are so beneficial is because everybody's bringing something new to the table, something that you're hopefully not hearing in other spaces. And the thing that I wanted to bring again, because you start to get we all got attracted to crypto for one reason: big gains, right? We want to see that portfolio, and it gets us all happy when we see the millions of dollars in there, but you have to really not be too getting these big gains. Sorry, I just got a call in the background. What I would start to do, there's an application called Asset Dash. What this does is it tracks all your wallets for you, whether it be MetaMask, whether it be Phantom, and now it just integrated with SUI. You want to have all your wallets tracking in there, okay? Now, that net worth, you hear people talk already today in spaces, there's seven figures and all that. Realize that whatever it's showing in your Phantom wallet right now, your SUI wallet right now, that's truly not what you're worth. You're much, much less than what that is. And once you start having that type of mentality, you're going to do much better. And how do I do it now? All right. So if you hold a major position in a project, let's just say you hold 2% of the supply. And let's just take a project right now that's got 100 million market cap, but their liquidity is only 2 million. You hold 4% of that project. Does it really mean that you have that amount in that project? No. I mean, if you single clipped out of that, you don't even have 2% of that liquidity out there. And so stop thinking about your portfolio as your net worth. Start tracking it realistically. And so what you should be doing is looking at projects and looking at their liquidity pool, because a lot of times a project that has a higher market cap doesn't have a healthy liquidity pool. And why do I bring that up? Everybody loves Giga right now. I'm a Giga holder. What happened when they had their treasury drained and somebody single clipped out a few percent of their whole portfolio at once? It dropped the project down by 40%. And so once you start thinking in terms of actual liquidity pools as your actual net worth and not the numbers that in your Phantom wallet, then you start, I think, making better decision-making capabilities. Now take that a step further. You get taxed. I get taxed 45% right now. And that's a real number. And so if you're making short-term decisions versus long-term cap gain decisions, that plays into it, especially if you're a spot trader. Like, I don't like to do too much leverage or anything like that. I like to just buy my conviction plays and hold them ideally for a year, because it's going to be a difference of 25% taxes if you choose the right conviction plays. And so what I would encourage you is you set up your Asset Dash wallet, you have all of your plays in there. Then you could make a manual wallet with the same plays. And I'm just talking about your big position plays. And then you do the tax, take 45% out of that. And then you do another one based off of what the current liquidity pool is. Now you've got three pieces of data that really tell you where you're at. Because I could tell you, everybody thinks you hit that $1 million play, you try to pull it out into your bank account. There's going to be a lot of surprises that you guys are not considering right now when you convert it to USDC. Are you doing that in a decentralized wallet? Or are you doing it in a centralized wallet? Well, you just did a centralized wallet, you lost 2%. Are you depositing it all in one swing into your bank account? What's going to happen when you apply for that $1 million property and they go, hey, you don't have a job. Your job pays you 40K right now. We're not going to give you that loan for 500K on your house right now just because you have all this money out of crypto. So there's many facets to just not seeing that high number. But what I encourage you to do today is just get a game plan and keep on evolving that game plan to get to that next level. Now, I'm going to take off soon, but I could just tell you from my own knowledge, I try to stay a little bit ahead of the curve with what little I do know, and that's what led me to SUI right now. There's always going to be one layer one that has this asymmetric upside to it, and to me, that was SUI, and I picked it up about 6, 7 months ago now. Jules could verify that because I was in his DMs trying to get him to join up with me. But the point is, if you make those correct decisions early on, today I don't care if it's $4. I know it's going to $10. I don't care if my project's at 35 mil. I know it's going to be a 3, 4x from there. As long as you start having that mentality and picking things early and then studying the numbers and coming up with your game plan, you're going to do much, much better. And I know it's a lot to take in at once, but just take 1 or 2 pieces of advice from today's spaces and start implementing them. And then listen to the space again a little later on and just keep on building on that. So I hope that helps out somebody in the audience.
Absolutely. We're going to go to Alan. I'm going to dovetail, piggyback off of what Keith said about, just about SUI. So for me, if you've been following me for months, I've been talking about Ethereum. Oh my gosh, bro. I could do a whole space just on Ethereum right now. Ethereum comprises the stablecoin market cap in the entire crypto industry. 54% of it is on Ethereum. Ethereum mainnet, not Base, not Arbitrum. I'm talking Big Daddy ETH. And for a long time, I started tracking the Ethereum stablecoins, and it was stuck. It grew from 60 to 80 million, and it was stuck at 60 to 80 billion dollars worth of liquidity, and then it was just stuck there. And since we've had this, breakout in Bitcoin, we've gone from $80 billion of stable coin. This is liquidity. This is not meme coin market cap, people. This is meme coins can be at $100 million and only have $1 million, $2 million in actual Solana or SUI or ETH or whatever. This is $110 billion worth of stable coins on Ethereum. So Ethereum, I know from just looking at the liquidity, when we talk about liquidity flow, oh my gosh, it's about to rip. But you'll go to the timeline and people will say ETH is dead. But I don't give a crap about their feelings. I only care about the money because their feelings don't make me money. So this chart that I've pinned up to the top, this is the simplest way that I can explain liquidity flow. And when you understand it and you really look back at the history of how liquidity has consistently flowed through this crypto market with all the wheels and cogs and everything that Frankie talked about, we haven't even left phase one. We haven't even left the game.
Hey, Jules, real quick,
yeah.
Can you, for those who can't see the chart, can you just quickly touch on each one and what it means?
Yes, absolutely. For those who are listening, good call. So the graphic that I've pinned up in the jumbo, it says the path to alt season, and it talks about how money flows through this market, the crypto market. So phase one is Bitcoin, and that's where the flow of money moves into Bitcoin, causing prices to surge. Then there's a phase overlap. This is really important because this is actually where we're at right now. There's 4 phases. The phase overlap is when money flows into Ethereum, but it struggles to keep up with Bitcoin as far as performance, percentage increase per week, per month, and everything like that. Then you hit phase 2, where Ethereum and its price, not like per unit, but just its price growth a day, a week, a month, starts to outperform Bitcoin. And then people start talking about Ethereum is the new Bitcoin and it's going to flip it and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you go into phase 3. And this is where large caps start really performing. So it cools down for Bitcoin. It cools down for Ethereum. This is that thing that I'm talking to you about in like May, June, July of this next year, where people will call the top of the market. They might actually be talking about the top of the Bitcoin show, phase 1, but phase 2 is in full effect, where Ethereum starts ripping, right? Then large caps start ripping, and then the meme coins, alt season. So where does all the profit for your meme coins come from? It comes from the way liquidity flows through this market. I don't know if you've ever thought about it this way, but where does all the money come from that pumps these meme coins into the billions, and why haven't many of them done it now when everyone says it will in the future? That's because of those people having an understanding of liquidity inflow into the market. And so where does the profits come from to pump Brett to 50 billion? Crash is so certain on that. And I believe it's going to do really well. It's probably most likely going to hit 50 billion plus. Where do they get the confidence from these things? It's because they understand how the market works. And right now, we're just in the process of leaving phase 1, going into phase 2. Now, Bitcoin could still perform really well, but and it could go to 200K or 300K or whatever, right? But then Ethereum starts to really rip. And because it's been kind of stagnant over the last, it's just been stagnant for a while. And then Ethereum starts to catch a bid. So what happens is people much richer than you and I, who live in different zip codes financially than you and I, they're buying Bitcoin with 10 million, 100 million at $20,000 Bitcoin. They're riding that for 2 years, and then they're going, man, I'm up a lot. I think I'm going to go buy some Ethereum. And then they sit in Ethereum for a while. And they were probably buying it as well on the way up, $1,200 Ethereum, $2,000 Ethereum, because their goal is to get to $10,000 Ethereum with like 50 mil. So they're going in 50 mil at like $2,000 Ethereum. They're fine with that 5x. These are real people out here that are doing this. It's just you don't experience that in meme coins doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. And then they enjoy Ethereum for a while, and then they go, you know what? I like Sui, because I've been talking about Sui a lot. I like Sui. I think I'm going to go start putting some money into Sui, because I think that's going to rip another 10, 20, 30x. And then they go gambling with the fuck you money at the end of the cycle, and they buy the $1 million NFTs, and they buy the $400,000 NFTs, and you see $500,000 single clips coming in on charts. You haven't seen any of that shit yet. So that's why I've been preaching Sui, because I want to tie it back to Sui. We haven't even hit phase 2 yet. This pre-pump, oh my gosh, I missed the Sui pump from $1 to $4. This is a pre-pump of people much wealthier than you and I that are moving around billions of dollars, that are going into these things before the natural flow. I don't know if that makes sense, but it took me like 2 years to understand that. Let's go to Alan.
Big brain, big macro talk. There's also a word in this title, memes. And I'm going to do this. I'm not going to ask for fucking permission, but you guys need fucking alpha right now. And we need to break the dense talk. Okay? Meme coins, this whole market, that whole chart I just flowed, it's all about fucking timing, right? And there's some key factors that you look at in projects that you consider alpha as fuck. Has the dev been there before? Do they have money? Do they have a fucking plan? Is their plan in sync with the flow of the market and the money, right? Joseph is talking about how money is going to get redistributed, okay? Are they lining things up at milestones, right? You don't want the chart to hit too high too quick. You want those milestones to sink in. You want this shit to be timed right. About a week and a half ago, Sir Crypto hit me up and told me to lock the fuck in. I don't know if you guys know who Sir Crypto is, but when that gentleman tells me to lock the fuck in, I do not ask questions. I say, yes, sir, how high? And that's what the fuck I said. And then he told me who was on the dev team. I don't know if you guys remember 2021, if you ever heard of Shinja, Shibnobi. They ran a project up to $1.8 billion market cap. You know, they had some drama with one of the devs. He left, but the core team, they maintained their integrity. And they fell off. Well, they're fucking back. And they're fucking knocking the shit out of the ballpark. And I'm talking with them every fucking day. And they launched the project on Solana. In the meantime, and this fucking chart is a thing of beauty. And the way they've been rolling shit out is a dream come true. Sure, there's ways they can still fuck it up. But you know what? So far, they've been on time. They've been on time and they've hit their fucking marks. There's people in this space right now that I know goddamn well heard about this shit day one, and they haven't said a fucking word about it yet because they are waiting for those milestones to happen. That's the proof that they need. But today, I'm telling you right now, as someone that's been in the grease trap, in the trenches, who's thugged it out, this is a once in a 5 month opportunity. We don't get these shit all the time. We don't get a beautiful project put in front of us. How long has Brett been out? How long has Ponky been out? It's been a while. It's been a while. Lofi is probably the most recent one that's really hit. Bag the fuck up. I need you guys to lock the fuck in right now. Look at it closely. Ask me whatever fucking questions you need. But this is your alpha. Okay? Here's your little break from the big brain monotony. Here's your gentle chill. Lock the fuck in and get a fucking bag right now. You will thank me later. You are welcome.
Actually, I'll echo that, Alan, because he dropped me a DM. I faded it first, and I have scooped up a bag. I am intrigued by this this thesis, and I will support it on the timeline. I've just been trying to get back in the groove of things, so I'm in. Let's go.
Fuck yeah, he's locked the fuck in. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to chill.
Yeah, man.
I posted in the comments. There's a little post with the timeline in the comments. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do it for everybody, but I extend because it's not like a shill space. But see, I've known Alan for a while now, and some have known him longer. And I know when Alan gets excited about something, it's usually a cook. And I also know it's cost me a lot of money by fading Sir Crypto. So it's not something I can financially afford to do anymore. So I do actually appreciate the break because that is a good shill, and that's something that I'm interested in. So I appreciate it, big dog.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
This is what people don't understand. All right, Enoch. Where were these conversations, man? When we got into crypto, where were these spaces, dude?
Nowhere. Nobody's, bro, most people still aren't really talking about this stuff. Nobody knows where money is coming from. They're hoping, they're literally praying to the meme gods that their bags pump. We didn't know anything, bro.
It wasn't until the bear. See, here's the thing, right? The guy. I'll go back to the guy. The 6 paragraphs turned $1 million into 19 Solana or whatever it was. The encouraging thing that I told him is I said, you still have, in my opinion, a whole nother year ahead of you. I didn't learn this shit out. I didn't figure this shit out until the bear market, bro. The party was over. The lights were off. There was still a few people drunk in the corner thinking the party was going. They didn't realize the bear market was upon us. If you know, you know. And so nobody told them. Well, everybody told them the party was over, but they was enjoying the party, so they thought they would just keep doing their thing in the corner with the lights off and the music not playing no more. But I didn't learn this stuff until the bear market, man. And then I had to sit here. I had to watch the market every single day. All right. Now I'm paying attention. Now I'm locked in. And I had to rebuild my portfolio from zero until I figured some of this stuff out. So I appreciate the density, and I also appreciate the shill of a good meme. Genuinely. But I guess that I'll go to Frankie because he's got his hand up. But this chart that I shared with you, man. This is one of the things that it's so interesting. I guarantee you, if you go post this on the timeline and tell people ETH is next, bruh, you will see how much of the herd follows their emotions. And then what'll happen? This is the weight you have to wear. If you call things early enough, meaning a couple months, a couple weeks, I'm not talking it's happening tomorrow. If you call something early enough, everyone hates on it. Then you'll find them in a space buying ETH meme coins. You'll be like, bro, You were telling me that I was an idiot. I know, man, but it's just like they're ripping right now, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like the heat is there. And the whole point of like talking macro on memes is so you can position yourself before these knuckleheads who just follow what the herd does because they don't understand how money flows through this economy, this crypto economy. And the most difficult thing, and I'll land the plane on this. The most difficult thing to do is hold a blue chip that is most likely going to win this cycle, and you get bored. You're bored. Can we be honest? We can hold one of the best meme coins of this cycle, and in retrospect, we'll look back and go, holy crap, that was a great pick. But you get bored, man. You get bored holding the same conviction plays. You want to feel something. And one of the worst decisions you can make is if you did pick right because you don't understand the timing of the market, where money comes from, you're in memes, and you're rolling out of that to go buy some bullshit to feel something. And then that thing you rolled out of ends up pulling off another 100x, another 50x from here. It was the easiest money of your life, bro. All you had to do was hold, my guy. But no, you had to chase all the other financially illiterate people on this platform over a cliff into the new shiny object. Come on, my guys. Come on. Anyway, that's rant over. Let's go to Frankie.
Yo. Yeah, so I just I shared a video up top. It's from the Thinking Crypto podcast. Really good place for just regular news, 15 minutes every day, just to keep you current with like the political happenings and just other developments in the space. Also does some interviews with some really good TA people. He does one with a guy over at Santiment. Santiment is a really good platform to look at like social metrics and other stuff. I have a paid subscription with them to access their charts and all that. But anyways, the video up top is from a tax expert. And a really good service, I think, to look into if you're someone who's making a lot of money in crypto. They will do your taxes like as if you are going to get audited. Like if you're getting audited by the IRS for like millions, tens of millions of dollars, like these are the guys you call to get you out of that jam. So if you're a high net worth person, you can hire them to do your taxes. They've never had any issues with the taxes that they filed. So anyways, there's that. And then just wanted to talk a little bit. I heard someone say phase, and I got excited, so I posted up a bunch of charts. I just want to talk about why I'm bullish, and to help give you guys some conviction. So I shared some charts up top. The first one is, if you want to follow along, it's got some yellow bars in there. And this is essentially the altcoin market share versus total crypto market capitalization. Essentially just shows you where we are in phases, and it's showing that we're entering the phase that historically has been parabolic gains for the altcoin market. We're entering that phase. And for other reasons, I said FedNet liquidity. I think I spoke about this earlier, but that's a type of liquidity that's very important for altcoins. I can even share one more chart just to let you guys know what I'm talking about here. But essentially, FedNet liquidity is very closely tied to the altcoin market, and it tracks ETH BTC very well, and it also tracks altcoins very well. Let's see, here we go. I'll just do the ETH BTC one because I think we're all, if you don't know this, ETH BTC is a very fair indicator, a very fair way to predict kind of when alt season. So I just shared that chart. FedNet liquidity over ETH BTC, very closely correlated. So what is FedNet liquidity? It's essentially the Fed balance sheet. The Fed here in the States will buy and sell securities and assets off their balance sheet. And, them doing that has an effect on markets. And right now, we're in rate cutting season, which is good, but we're also still in quantitative tightening, which means the Fed is selling their assets, taking money out of the system, and, essentially driving Fed net liquidity down. And we're watching altcoins follow. And I actually, not to toot my horn, but I kind of predicted this. I'm not the only one. Anyone who can look at this and understand what it means for altcoins and risk assets generally could have predicted that. We're seeing an end of year Fed net liquidity crunch, global liquidity crunch because of a strong dollar. So this is just where we are right now, and it's actually good. It's a good reset for the market. It's going to allow us to really launch off in 2025. When Jerome Powell got up in front of people and essentially told the markets to cool off. We had a great 2025. We did exactly what we wanted to do. We expanded the base. We inflated prices. We drove asset prices up. Let's cool off, come back next year and do it again. And that's exactly what the market's doing. So if you want to look at the next chart I shared, it's got some different colors on there. It's the one after the kind of the yellow chart that I shared. This is showing some really nice. This is from Tech Dev. Up at the top left, you can see it, Tech Dev 52. I think it's kind of blurry. Give him a follow. He's really always coming out with good charts like this that show similarities. But we're seeing, the Dogecoin chart, which is really kind of a proxy for the larger meme coin market, right? The Bitcoin chart, Ethereum, and then Bitcoin dominance. We're looking at similarities between early January of 2021, so the post-halving year last cycle, and then right now, the end of December, just before the post-halving year, and it's looking very similar. Bitcoin is having a similar breakout. Bitcoin dominance is looking like it's getting ready to fall, and Ethereum is getting ready to rip. Dogecoin's just had a movement and is probably getting ready to rip. So it's looking like things are lining up like they did before. And if you want to, speaking of Bitcoin dominance, another reason why, I think Fed net liquidity is so important. If you want to scroll to the last chart in that series of charts, there's a yellow line on a trading view screenshot. So this is Bitcoin dominance. And Bitcoin dominance is essentially how much of the market is Bitcoin. And as Bitcoin dominance goes down, typically altcoins will go up. As Bitcoin becomes less dominant in the market, altcoins and Ethereum go up during that time. And that's kind of an alt season. And so what we're seeing here, Bitcoin dominance last cycle, this is when the Fed ended quantitative tightening. I don't know if they started QE or they just ended QT, but either way, this kind of marked the beginning of QE. And, this was the top for Bitcoin dominance. And I think a very similar thing will happen this cycle, for the reasons I said before. Fed net liquidity very closely tied to ETH BTC, also very closely tied to altcoins as a percentage of Bitcoin market cap. And then we're also seeing that last cycle QE marked the top for Bitcoin dominance. And so, by more than one metric, we can see that, I think what the Fed does, is going to be very important for alt season. So keep that in mind. And then one more thing that I'm really bullish on, and this will be the last thing I touch on. It's the third chart here. It's a tweet from Steve Donze. I don't know. Give him a follow. So let me just read it out. Pre-election jitters aside, stand back and look at how attractive the big picture reads. The combination of broadening rate cutting cycles and improving business cycles, both reading over 50%, only occurs 10% at a time. So what does that even mean? Broadening rate cutting cycles is what we're seeing. The U.S. cutting rates, countries, economies around the world stimulating, getting ready to inject liquidity, and essentially making market conditions better for investors. That is, the broadening rate cutting cycle, and that is, both reading above 50%, which means it's kind of in its strong phase. We're just doing this, aggressively, and it's getting really ready to ramp up. And then there's the business cycle. And a lot of this, the business cycle is really important to talk about. You could have a whole space just on the business cycle. And liquidity, really is a function of the business cycle, because the business cycle is essentially, the cycle of, it's the money cycle. It's kind of like the credit cycle. So it's like, one way to measure this is what's called, and I'll share another chart, is a PMI, or it's called a purchasing managers index. And here we go. So this is, it's the same thing as the ISM. The ISM and the PMI are the same thing. The ISM is the Institute for Supply Management. PMI is the Purchasing Managers Index. Same thing essentially. the PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index, is a survey that they give out to the world's leading, manufacturer CEOs, some of the real captains of industries. These guys have an understanding of the economy at a very high level. And what this survey essentially tells them is how confident are they in the market? What are outlooks for new orders looking like? What is hiring looking like? And where they kind of see the market kind of determines how the ISM reads. And so it goes from 0 to 100, and 1 to 50 means that the economy is contracting, and above 50 means the economy is expanding. And right now we are coming up to 50, in the ISM, which means the economy is getting ready to expand. And as that number goes up, it means the economy will be expanding at a faster rate. And that's really what, the business cycle, any number of things happen within a business cycle. It's a cyclical thing. So you start off at, like, we're having inflation, and then, we start to cut down on inflation, and then, outlooks for new hires looks better. Bank lending improves, commercial industrial loans improves, and then we have, higher wages. As we get into, kind of a more expanding economy, higher wages means that, margins are being compressed. Margins being compressed means that layoffs are probably not far behind. And then, that means inflation is coming. And so then, you have the layoffs and you start to deal with inflation. We go into a rate hiking cycle. We slow the economy back down, and then it goes back into, and it kind of goes in a circle like that every 4 years or so. So that's, what's happening in a business cycle. There's any number of things that are happening there, but that's kind of just to give you an idea. And I know we're getting in the weeds here a little bit. And you're not going to remember this all from right now, but, what I want you to understand is that, so going back to this chart, broadening rate cutting cycles, stimulating in the economy, and then the business cycle, essentially the economy expanding and, the gears of the economy really winding up and getting hot. Both of these things are reading above 50%. That only happens 10% of the time. And so these are two huge macro drivers of asset appreciation and, kind of this, liquidity, boom cycle that we're in. It's kind of a rare thing where that's happening right now. And you combine that with, regulatory headwinds becoming tailwinds in the state. And then you also combine that with the entire world getting ready to take a position in Bitcoin through the strategic reserve. There's a reason why some of the top analysts and some of the top people in the space are saying that this could be one of the most explosive, cycles that we see. And that's a reason why, from a regulatory standpoint, from a, an industry maturation standpoint, from a macro, cyclical standpoint, everything is looking very, very, very bullish. And so that's why I'm incredibly bullish. And if there's going to be a pitch that you didn't understand, because I threw a lot at you. It's like drinking through a fire hose right now. So I'm sorry for that.
No,
there's no other way to do it. But yeah.
I want to interject. See, here's the thing, right?
Jules, can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Not hear Jules. Jules, is Jules talking to you?
He did just say something, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on a round trip. I'll be back.
Okay. Frankie, I want to interject. So here's the thing, right? I know this audience, the majority of them at least. I know you're not going to remember 90% of that, and probably 95% of that is new shit you've never heard of. But this is the gold kind of buried beneath that. Number one, if you don't know that, you should, because those things, they have an impact on your memes. But if you listen to what Frankie just said, he's like, okay, you look at this indicator, you look at this indicator, you look at hey, this only happens like 10% of the time. When you go to the timeline on X and people start acting bearish and they have roll-up spaces and bullshit and drama and people fighting with each other and vampire attacks and everything that we experience in the meme coin economy on the daily. Hold on, let me bring Henoch back up. How can you possibly be bearish when you have an edge on the herd who's just feeding off of each other's feelings? Because as it turns out, if you're going to go build a building, anybody could say they're going to build a building. You'd probably be better off to get an engineer. You may not understand everything that the engineer understands about building a building, but for that thing to get certified, it's going to need an engineer. Here's the problem with meme coins. You don't. You don't need that to participate in the meme coin economy. You don't have to understand anything. You go watch a YouTube video and you go buy a new meme coin because some guy on YouTube talked about it. Probably his name's Enoch, right? But you don't understand anything. So that's the beauty of crypto, is that we're allowed to participate in these assets together and build communities and financially incentivize the growth of them. It's the most cracked thing since the internet came out. But the tragedy of DeFi and crypto is because anybody can come into it doesn't mean that everybody will profit from it. And the reason that most will not profit from it is because they don't have a rudimentary understanding of the money market that they're in. When you listen to people who are much smarter than you, way smarter than me, and they say, hey, this only happens 10% of the time. We've got FedNet over here. We've got global liquidity. And they start spouting off all this stuff. They're not talking from their feelings. They're talking from charts, data, samples of not what one guy's saying, but 18 different guys are all agreeing on because they've been in the market way longer than you and they actually can give financial advice. And they're going, I'm bullish on the crypto market. Then when you go to the timeline and a guy's like, no, you need to sell your conviction plays and roll into this bullshit because that's not going anywhere. How could you possibly be bearish? See, this market will trick you and out of money and program you to stay poor. And I'll land the plane here because over 90% of its participants don't even understand it. They don't understand how this market works. So you just simply locking in and trying to understand some of this stuff, or at least going on the journey to try and understand some of it, already puts you I'm a competitive person. If you tell me there's a supplement that I can take that's going to give me a 99% edge, maybe it's called steroids, but anyway, I'm going to take it, man. If it's legal, I'm going to take it. I am a competitive person, and anything I can do to have an edge on the 220 people in this space, I'm going to do it. That the information is there for all, but most are too lazy to learn it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make more money than you. I say this to challenge you. I'm going to rinse you. I'm going to make more money in this market. Dog, it's just the truth. I'm trying to inject, like, you should. It's just passion. I'm going to make more money than you because, and I know this sounds arrogant, but it's because I understand the market better than you. I don't understand it perfectly. I'm using this as an analogy. Anybody could say this who has just an inch more information off of the herd. You can turn around to the rest of the market and you can say, I didn't come to beat the house. I am the house. Anyway.
A couple things. One, what's cool about like this information is if you take this information and apply it in options, you can make a certain amount of dollars. If you apply it in stocks, you make a certain amount of dollars. You apply it in real estate, like all these different businesses, you could take this information and apply it there, and they have an ROI connected to them. What's fascinating about memes is if you take this information and you apply it inside of the jungle of meme coins, the ROI and the returns are ridiculously outsized. There's way more zeros over here applying this information than there is in other. And actually, I'd probably argue I don't know of another sector or space or industry where you can take $100 and turn it into millions. I'm not the. There are a lot of people that I've met in this space that have had that opportunity. Their journey began with a Benjamin, and they're in a different place now. This is not a unique story in our space. So that's number one. Number two, earlier we talked about liquidity flow. There's this thing on this planet called liquidity flow, and you may not even be aware of that. And hopefully now you are somewhat aware that there is there's this thing called liquidity flow, and it's just how it works. Another thing you need to be aware of that you may not be aware of is there's this thing called catalysts. And you need to understand, like, what is a catalyst and how does it work and why is it important for you to know if you're in meme coins. So when you're developing your thesis and you have one, whether you know it or not, whether you state it or not, you are investing, you are deploying capital with a thesis in mind. And maybe your thesis is Jules talked about it on the timeline. Sarah's excited. Keith is the dev. Like, hey, and listen, you know what's crazy about a bull run though? And this is where it gets like ridiculous. That's enough. And if you're talking about the right people, that is actually enough to make some money. But what's ideal is you have a tool chest full of catalytic indicators, right? So understand there are positive catalysts and negative catalysts, and you want to be on the lookout for both. So why in the world is everyone so excited about 2025? Can you point to any specific catalysts that would lead you to believe that things are only going to get better in 25? Or how about this one? Let's go back if you were here in 2021. I ran into the buzzsaw. So let me tell you how dumb I was. Um, you know that drunk guy at the party that Jules was talking about that didn't realize that the party's over, but he's still over there just like pounding it, and like that was me. Like I
Can
started the
confirm.
Same.
yeah.
I can confirm.
I was the jackass. I was the guy that started $100 million challenge January of 2022. I took $1 million USD out of a bank account and put it on a public wallet for everyone to watch. Because I was going to trade this thing up to 100 million because I thought the party was just going to keep on going. And, like a lot of what we're talking about today is birthed out of pain, seven figures in losses. I'm not just talking about like round tripping dollars, right? It's one thing to turn $1,000 into millions and you round trip that, right? Your net loss at the end of the day was $1,000 and then a ton of unrealized gains. That's not what I'm talking about. I burned seven figures plus and a staff team and fired people and had to let go of an office and hurt people, hurt families because of the mistakes and because I didn't understand that there's this thing called liquidity flow and it affects my memes. I didn't understand that there's this thing called catalysts and it affects my memes. And you need to understand them. So, like, let me give you one back then, right? I should have known at the end of 2021 that I should have been paying attention to Jerome Powell. Or, I'm sorry, not Jerome Powell. I should have been paying attention to the Fed. And they were talking about tightening. They were talking about, okay, rates have been low for a long time. It's time to hike them. I should have known that that was a negative catalyst that would affect all assets in general and have a disproportionate effect on high risk assets like crypto and inside of crypto, especially memes, right? So understand and try to like gain handles around positive catalysts and negative catalysts, right? A positive catalyst that happened a year and a half ago. BlackRock announced we're coming into crypto. We're going to launch these things called ETFs, right? Then they actually happened. Or another one, hey, we're going to launch an Ethereum ETF or a Solana ETF. Or hey, all right, it's finally time to start cutting interest rates, which is what happened just a few months ago, right? And then a couple of weeks ago, that dirty, horrible, worthless, he must be married to Gary Gensler. This guy Jerome Powell decided to get on the news a couple of weeks ago, and in the spirit of the demonic Gary Gensler, possessed this man to say we are not going to cut rates as aggressively as we thought in 2025. And what did the markets do? Oh, the markets overreacted and they started dumping. So there are these positive catalysts that affect the markets, such as when the Fed talks, when Trump talks, legislation, rate cuts, rate hikes. And there's 1,000 other catalysts I could probably point to, but I'm too dumb. I don't know enough. These giga brains up here, they can point to 1,000 catalysts. Then there are negative catalysts. So understand there's this thing called liquidity flow, and understand there's this thing called a timeline of how liquidity and when liquidity flows and how many years it takes to happen. And also understand there are positive catalysts and negative catalysts. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jules.
Oh, no, you go for it, Sarah.
I just wanted to tell you guys thank you so much for all of this, because as somebody who this is their first real bull run and being here, like I don't think that I would make it without all of you. And you guys, your blood, sweat, and tears are like, you guys were just the pioneers. And so thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for your baptism by fire.
Well, my only reply to that, Sarah, is, and this is the thing I love about crypto the most. Obviously, I had to put in the work and not just learn these things and spout them off, but put them into practice and with my own money, right? But I learned all of this information, all of these things, not just from being in the market, but also from some really cool cats who've been here much longer than me. And that's one of the things that I love about just this space as like X, right? This space in general is you can pop into a space and you can listen to people. At the end of the day, no one here can give financial advice. I mean, dude, we're in memes, okay? We're technically retarded. No one can really give you financial advice when it comes to that. However, you can soil sample information, and then the job really is on you to form your own thesis. But what happens is your learning curve is cut down by having these kinds of conversations. And my only hope is that as the new first cycle people come up, that you pay it forward to the other people after this cycle, and you pass down the wealth of knowledge and experience and mistakes and things like that to the next people, because that's all I've done is people who were here before me pass down information to me. I still had to put in the work and form my own thesis and wrap my head around it. Otherwise, when someone asks you a question, it just pulls the whole pin because you can't explain it. But I've had to put the work in, but I got this level of thinking and kind of questioning things and going down the rabbit holes and looking at charts and dominance and Bitcoin dominance. What does all this mean? The people that were here far before me put me onto that game. And that's one of the greatest parts of crypto is the information is by and large is pretty free. And it's coming from people who have made hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth of mistakes trying to navigate and bump their heads and figure all of that out. And we get that freely in crypto in like high value spaces like this one. And my only request is that you do the same for the person that's down the road. And I know that's a big, tall ask because this isn't a market built off of generosity. It is a financial market. And at the end of the day, we are all here to make money. And if we're all in the same meme coin, some are going to make less money than others, depending on who has a bigger bag and who decided to exit earlier or slowly fade out earlier and who was going to moon boy to the end when the party and the lights went off. So like, there is a certain level of PvP, so asking people to pass it down to the new players is a tall order. But just understand that like the vast majority of people in the crypto market, their earnings got boosted by listening to the people before them, and you should probably consider doing the same. The reason I do it, and then we'll go to Easy because he's got his hand up, is not for the branding. It's not for the pat on the back. It's not because I'm here to make you millions. I mean, I can present a thesis, but at the end of the day, I set up a buddy with a 20x easy print a few months ago. And the homeboy still found a way to come out 60 grand in the hole. It was an easy 20x, brother. So the reason I do it is out of gratitude for the fact that crypto has changed my life. I have eaten from this table more than I put in fiat. And so I'm happy to pass it on to the next players. But I don't expect anything in return. I don't need pats on the back. I just feel like paying it forward is a good thing to do when I got all the information and alpha from people who had been here much longer than me, and they gave it for free. Let's go over to
Hey, I speaking of free, my bad, real quick. There's one super quick thing. Yeah. I posted up at the top everything I was talking about the business cycle. It's a Raul Paul. It's called Everything Code Masterclass. The first half is about his cyclical thinking about kind of the global liquidity cycle and his way of viewing it. The second half is Julian going in really, really deep diving into the business cycle. This is a 2-hour video. I've watched it at least 10 times, and I have to watch it at least 10 more times before I fully understand maybe even halfway what's going on. But yeah, just if you wanted to dive into what I was talking about earlier, the second half of this video will completely give you the details on what the business cycle is.
But that's the point. Even if you watch it, and we'll go to Easy, even if you watch it, you don't understand it. You don't understand 90% of the alpha that Frankie dropped on you or Keith or Guardian or whatever. That's not the point. The point isn't, this isn't a test. There's no quiz at the end. The point is that you should understand that to have an edge in this market, you can't just sit at the lever and hope to get lucky, because there are other players here that is not their strategy, because they've actually learned this money market and they will clean the floor with your P&L because they're not lazy. And that's the thing you should take away from it, for sure. So appreciate you dropping that resource. Easy, what's up, my man?
Yo, what's up, fellas? This is a great conversation. I was in the grease trap listening, and I'll tell you why. Because I've identified that when I'm talking, I'm not learning. So that's why I go to the grease trap. It forces me to listen. I identified that, and I'm like, hell, this is a hell of a tool, right? I've even been in the grease trap and tried to hit the speak button, and it says, hey, you're listening anonymously. You can't even do it. So you see how my reaction, but I think that type, so people wonder, because, you know, just in life in general, people wonder, well, how did this guy get where he's at? Or how did that guy get where he's at? You know what I mean? And what we do is we judge people's outsides by our insides, right? Like I met a lady one time. She probably, I'm just guessing, it's on the north end of Figure 8 Island. She owns an $18 million house, and she come out with cat hair all over her, right? But if you would see that lady at the grocery store, you wouldn't know the type of money she's worth, right? And she's not struggling to pay the wind and hail and the taxes on that. You got to remember, the wind and hail and taxes is probably $250,000 to $300,000 a year, which is your medium income house. So she buys another house every year just to stay in the house, and taxes and insurance. So it's our biases. But I was listening to Enoch, and I was listening to Jules speak, and it's like Jules like complimented Enoch very well on top of what he was saying when he was, you know, this industry, so financial industries, at certain points in time, they pay off very well, right? And it's like, so like, and I'm gonna give you an example. Like, why am I here? Why is Jason Williams here? Why is a lot of people here? Because we've already got it. What I'm saying is, and even you guys, even other people that are not like, you could have $1 million. Your net worth could be 2 million. Your net worth could be 600K. And, you know, because we have a set it and forget it bag already. Like, we've got I've got my Bitcoin since 2014. I've got my Ethereum. I've got my Pepe. I got my MOG. And they're not $30,000 bags, right? These are $1 million bags. So you say, well, why is Easy here? And Easy's here to keep learning. And I can identify the times in the cycle to where I'm getting paid better for my time here. You see, for people that are very busy in life, building businesses and doing things, it's all about our time, right? It's about the time. So I can find myself doing something for a year, making money, but I lost money. It's called opportunity cost. I lost money because, like, I have to beat my time value. Like I say this all the time. If I can't make more money here over time, now I don't have to make it each day, but I can physically go to work with my guys. And at the end of the day, I can bill anywhere from an extra $2,700 to $4,000 for that day, just by me going, because I bill for my time too. So at the end of the month, if I didn't make more than what I could walk out that front door and make, or at least the same amount with less effort, then I'm going backwards, because time is the most valuable commodity we have. And money can't buy time, no matter how much of it you got. Yes, you can pay better doctors, better healthcare, and have, you know, and maybe over time live a little bit longer. But I mean, let's be realistic. Money can't buy yesterday's time back. Money cannot buy this morning's time back. It's gone. And they made it really, they were speaking on something, and I said, man, I just got to come up whenever he was speaking on. But I will say this, and I will say this, and crypto is a low barrier to entry. And has somebody put $100 in and turned it into millions? Of course they have. Okay. Has somebody bought a $20 scratch off ticket and won 58 million in the Powerball? Of course they have, right? But in crypto, like, the people that literally, this is what I've seen. Okay. So you have the extremes, right? And probably the odds are, if you got $100, and that's all you have, there is better places for you to put your $100 than in crypto, because you're just buying a movie for a few hours, right? You're spending the $100 for a dream. And a lot of dreams don't come true. A lot of dreams don't come true. And I would say the odds are of you making it with $100 is very, 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 very finite, right? So, but there's somewhere in the middle where it's the people, you know, they have a little bit of money and they are willing to take a little risk, and they're going to make a little more money next week and the week after and the week after. And let me tell you the common denominator of that group that makes it or not, because that's the mass majority of us here. You have the really, really, really high ends like CZ from Binance and Jason Williams and these other people. You have that really, really, really high end. And then you have the very, very, very low end with the $100. But then the mass majority of us, we're in the middle, right? And what I found that the common denominator is their time. They're like, Jules hit it right when he said you're not just sitting waiting for the level to pull the lever, right? They're not just waiting to get lucky, right? And what they're doing is, it's like me. I've identified that if I go into the grease trap, it forces me to listen. Like, I got to be forced to listen. And it's them small little things, like it's learning, spending the time here wisely to get that small edge, to get the small edge. Now, I'll say this. Okay, so a lot of the crazy numbers that are made in crypto, the majority of them comes like when they put in very small amounts, the majority of that is all insider. It's all insider, right? Now, with that being said, I can still make money here, but at times it's even a struggle for me to make money. Like, it's a struggle, right? It really is at certain times. And so with me knowing the education that I have in financial markets, even outside of crypto, I mean, hard money lender, pink sheets, all kinds of stuff that you've read about me on the internet, you know. But yeah, I have a 31 years in financial markets. I've been kicked out. There's markets I can't even go to anymore. And when I'm telling you, like, I am the cream of the crop. And in crypto, it's hard for me to make money sometimes. Like, that's the truth. And so I know if it's hard for me to make money, I know no matter what people want to say here, I know it's hard for somebody that doesn't really understand markets like I do. Now, here's what I found out, though, and I'm going to end with this. This is another reason why I go into the grease trap, is because let's say Kaz has 4 years experience. Let's say Guardian has, you know, so many years. Let's say Rick has so many years. Here's what I found out, that crypto is ever evolving so fast. Really, it makes no difference of what I knew from 2014 today. It don't. Now, they're good to sit around and tell stories with y'all and everything about it. But the truth is, Sarah, the other people here, Life and Glory, the people here that are connected day in, day out, Jules, connected day in, day out, connected to certain communities about certain memes that didn't exist a year ago. Now, how can I have, see what I'm saying? Like, and I had to humble myself and say, listen, because I didn't want to keep losing. And because I do lose money here, right? I do lose some money here. But again, I lose what I can afford to lose, right? I lose what I can afford to lose. $7,000, $8,000 in a project, it's not going to hurt me if it literally rug pulls. Not at all. It's not going to hurt me one bit. Light bill still gets paid. But again, if I really humble myself and think about it, so I guess I'm rounding up with this. It's like, if you're here and you're in the middle, right? We're not talking about the guy with 100, and we're not talking about the guy with multi-millions. We're talking about the majority of people here that are in the middle. Like, it's really, really, really educating yourself and do exactly what and don't do exactly what Joel's was saying most people do, where you're sitting in the chair and you're just pulling the lever. Like you have to do something. Everything, like I can't just tell you what it is you have to do. It's something you have to find out within yourself. And once you find that, then you have to like get that small edge in that area and then throw like gasoline to the fire, and then just be willing and be humble enough to say, okay, let me listen some more, right? And so that's the reason I come up, and that's the reason I've been in the grease trap. I started doing the grease trap about 2 months ago, and I've noticed how better I was in making my investments, in when to buy and when to sell. And that's one other thing that you don't typically hear in crypto. And I'm not down. I'm gonna tell you, okay, so this is something that my 31 years in financial markets, I have experience with. And this is something that will probably never change to the end of time. When you have any market, whether it's a real estate market, whether it's any type of market, and you have such a low barrier to entry, you're going to get very immature financial people. And you see, like when people that I normally talk to IRL, like they talk about selling assets. They don't think of, like, the only thing they love is their children and things like that, their religion and stuff like that. They don't get married to this stuff. They don't even get happy about the car they drive. It's just a car. They just buy another one, right? It's just a car. But in crypto markets, because it's such a low barrier to entry, you have immature, not immature people, but immature people with finances, right? And you know, I'll say this, in any market, there is, markets are overvalued and markets are undervalued. And the biggest trick to any market is to be able to identify, and he not just spoke on it a few minutes ago, and see, he's identified it now, but he went through that. He went through, and I didn't even know that was his story. He went through putting up $1 million. And he even like that wasn't like what everybody wanted to hear, but listen, he told us, he shared it with us. He went, and listen, he went on to say, you know, had the office and had to lay off workers and everything, right? But you can bet he wouldn't be where he's at today if he was going to make that same mistake twice. He learned from it, man. And so again, I'll end here. The greatest thing I think in investing is to understand when markets are overvaluated, when markets are undervaluated, and you sell when things are overvaluated, and you buy them back when they're under. And it's not even trading. That's not called trading. That's called smart investing. And here, I'm hoping that we mature, not as crypto as a whole, but we mature more as a group of people coming together on the internet. And I need to show my maturity, because I got to be the change I want to see in people. And I want to be the change I want to see in myself. And I hope that people understand that that's not trading. That's just being a smart investor. Thank you.
Really appreciate you, Easy. Thank you so much for sharing and your contribution, man. Appreciate you, dog.
Yeah, there was a couple things you said I just wanted to touch on. You said money can't buy time, and that is something that I'm realizing with an immense amount of gravity the longer that I'm here. I think for me, that is why on my timeline in particular, I was wondering if maybe it was an old dog new trick thing with the pump fund era. So I tried to participate in it for a while, and then I was like, nah, I'm not interested really in getting into 5K, 50K shitters. But it's not because I don't see. I remember a time when you could degen gamble from live new pairs. You can't do that now. You can't do that because most of the things coming off of pump fund, they bond and they already have holders when it hits live new pairs. It looks like a live new pair, but it's not. But I remember a time when it was much slower and you could just ape from live new pairs, and you can't. And so one of the things that I think about when it comes to like time and not being able to get that back is I don't want to be wasting my time, because now there's a huge cost to it. And the longer you've been here and the more money you make in this market, those numbers go up. There's decimal points. I always say there's decimal points to bullshit. There's decimals to getting yanked out of your conviction plays and chasing some 100x illiquid, piece of shit. Like it really is. And so you can't buy time. So where's the alpha in that? Because there was a nugget of alpha that Easy dropped, and I think about that a lot lately, Easy. If you can't buy time, then you need to seize the moment that you're in right now. And you need to understand where you're at in the cycle. You need to understand some of this nerdy stuff that Frankie has shared today. And, I say that with all respect, like, because he has a passion for it that I don't. And with Guardian and him sharing his story, and Keith and people who've been here for 3+ cycles, you should want to learn that stuff. You know why? Because you can't buy time, but there's other people out here who have had time in the market that are willing to share nerdy shit that's not even on the level that you're at right now. And that should clue you up to be like, yo, if I can take advantage of the time better, and I believe that 2025 is arguably going to be the most bullish year in crypto history, especially if I'm in memes or alts or whatever, then I cannot afford to be distracted. Can't be afford to be distracted in drama. Can't afford to be distracted in chasing, the green candles. I can't afford to be distracted chasing clout. I can't afford any of this shit, because I got 1 year. I got 1 year. If you believe that. I got 1 year to just lock the fuck in and not be distracted on anything. And that could change. That could add an extra 0 from what I take from this casino at the end. So you're right, man. You cannot buy time. So why waste it? Why waste it on bullshit? Why waste it on shitty tickers? I know we all want to feel something. So I get it. And I love the DJ gamble, but really savor the time and really lock in on these bigger narratives, and buy SUI. I'm telling y'all, get into some SUI, because on a macro level, everything is pointing up.
Yo, can I speak on that? Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Like SUI, like layer ones, like the best trade that you can make in a bull run is identifying the next big layer one. Last year it was Solana. Before that, it was Ethereum. Because what you're investing in here, really in crypto, a big part of it is network effects. That's like one of the fundamental things we're investing in crypto is network effects. And if you can catch these trades, if you can catch these L1s, before they really get established network effects early in the adoption trend, you can front run some serious gains. And so that is, and I think it's gonna be SUI this time around. And they're positioning themselves to, take a lot of to capture a lot of mind share in the gaming niche, and really just across any retail sector of crypto. So
yeah,
I think SUI's a screaming buy at these levels.
I want to say something, and then we're gonna go to Kaz about that. So how that relates to your memes. So we want to also make a connection to memes. And this is actually the macro meta over this particular run, at least in my opinion. This is just a part of my thesis. So my macro, like, there's metas, and then there's the macro meta. So the meta that oversees all the metas. And what I've seen is these new, like, cross chaining, which was such a foreign concept to memes a year and a half ago. Like, honestly, like, when I first heard you guys were degenning on Solana last fall, I laughed at you.
Enoch,
What'd you say, Jules?
I told you, I'm like, Enoch, Solana, you got to get over to Solana, man.
No. And this is what I mean when I say, like, those of you who've been here, like, you might be most at risk for not making as much because you refuse to change your ways. Like Easy said, it's an ever-evolving space. So I was stuck in my ways because I came in to ETH memes in 21. And, we gambled away all of our money on ETH memes in 22 and most of 23. And so when they started going on Solana, I was like, no way. I missed bonk, I missed whiff, and it wasn't until Myro when I discovered that one at 16 mil that I decided to finally like stick my toes in there. And boy, what a ride that was! And the rest is history, right? We had Tron Summer this last summer, and now we're seeing the rise of Sui. So if you want to, I don't know how many of you meme heads, invest in layer ones. You should consider it. I'll say that. I think you should consider it. But one way you can invest, and maybe in a more roundabout way, is, and this is the macro meta for me, it is finding new L1s and particularly identifying the top 3 to 5 memes on those new L1s. And I would add to that list L2s as well. So for me, obviously, you guys know, if you know my story, I don't pretend like all of you do. I discovered Brett, got to talk with the team, the last week of February. March the 1st was my first post, and the rest has been history, right? So, like, really, really early to Axel week one. I'm sorry, first week of October is when I started talking about it. Really early to Lofi as well, because my thesis is the macro meta for memes this cycle is finding the top 3 to 5 memes on new emerging chains. I think Tron is going to do insane numbers. Yeah, I think Sui is going to do insane numbers. So, with that being said, like if you're in memes and you're like, I'm not really going to invest in a layer one this cycle. Okay, fine. Can you at least find the top 3 to 5 potential memes? Because those memes, I believe Axel is one of them, will be a leveraged bet on the success of that chain as well, in my opinion. Something to consider. Kaz, I want to go to you, and then Jesse, I want to welcome you to the stage as well. Go ahead, Kaz.
Yeah, on what you just said, I think it's consensus that these chains, these new L1s, they realize that if they want to bring volume to a new chain, the way you do that is by making your memes popular. So, I mean, using that as a way to build a position in L1s that are popping, that makes sense. So I think that's a really smart strategy, and you're doing obviously a good job executing that strategy, because it's one thing to have a strategy and it's another thing to execute it. So first of all, good job. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things that Easy said as well. The time thing, right? You can't buy time. As a market participant, like myself, obviously I'm in memes. I trade whatever's moving. I'm a technician, so I trade charts. So it's whatever's moving, whatever gives me the most upside. Obviously, memes give the type of upside that you cannot find anywhere else. I sat sidelined trading growth stocks as they were stuck in a range for the last 5 years, and watched last run rip, and I told myself never again will I do that. It made no sense, because I'm a technical trader. I'm watching the charts move, but meanwhile, the fundamentals made no sense to me, and that's why I didn't trade it. So I was like, why did I do that? I will never do that again, which is why you guys see me here all day. I'm trying to learn and trying to trade memes, because they offer a whole different type of opportunity. Also, they offer a crazy amount of volatility, right? So I cannot manage risk the same way I would normally manage risk, for instance, with tight stops, right? But that's okay, because you've got 100x opportunities. So what you need to do is look, be on top of the ball, and try to get in as early as possible. And you don't need to have big size, but you do need to understand the macro, right? Whether we're in a market where risk assets can run or not. So that's the other thing I wanted to touch on, which was, the macro. And I think it was Easy mentioned that you need to know if it's risk on or risk off market, right? Like whether you're in a market that can run or not, or maybe it was you, Hinak, when you were talking about you weren't paying attention to the Fed, right? And so from a really zoomed out level, the way I play memes, I get into ones that I believe in. Like for instance, stonks. In my opinion, if the meme super cycle is real, then stonks runs, because it's an important meme. For instance, right, Bobo, right? These are memes that people know about. Okay, so you get in with whatever size makes sense to you, and then you try to hold through the run. But the same way they're volatile to the upside, they can be volatile to the downside. So, anyways, to make a long story short, what I was taught, I was taught not to try to call tops and bottoms. It's a game for fools, but to understand whether it's risk on or risk off is very important. And two of the main things you're going to look for are: is there money still sidelined to make its way into the market. Meaning there's still people to buy, right? Because markets top on, a lot of times markets will top on the best news, but it doesn't matter if there's no more money to buy, right? Are there still buyers? And right now, yes, there's record amounts. Literally, never has there ever been more money sidelined. There's never been more liquidity sidelined, and ready to enter risk assets. So that's a major.
Real quick, I just want to add some color to what you said, and then Jesse, I'm coming right to you in a second. Unless Jules wants to say something, but I wanted to say that like what we're really talking about for those of you who are in memes and like, you know, risk on, risk off, risk appetite, liquidity flow, you know, ETFs, like all these words, like whatever, a couple things. This is a recorded space. Please go back and listen to it. Number two, if you're going to be hearing words, I'm going to teach you how to do your own research because they always say, do your own research, do your own research. No one explains how. Here's how you do it in this space and probably any other space. As you're consuming content, listening to the words that come out of people's mouth, whether it's a YouTube video, a space, a person you're meeting, for coffee, you're going to run into words, terms, concepts, phrases, and principles you've never heard of, or you just don't have a full understanding of. Maybe you have 70% understanding, but you're not 100% confident. Write these terms, words, principles, phrases down as you hear them, and then go to YouTube at a time that's convenient for you. Type in what is liquidity flow? What is a macro market? What do they mean by macro markets? What does risk on, risk off mean? Type these words in, watch the top 7 to 10 videos on all these subject matters, take notes, and you're going to run into more words, concepts, phrases, terms that you've never heard of before watching those videos. Put those down on that same piece of paper. That paper is going to get really long, really fast. Then one by one, take the words that you've been writing down, put them right back in the search bar, and watch the top 7 videos over and over and over again. You run through that process because there's no PhD, there's no encyclopedia, and there's no Messiah or Savior coming for you or your family. This is on you to do your homework, to do your work, and to learn from other people's spilled blood and learn from the gory, horrible stories and the best of stories as well. So please consider doing that, number one. Number two, what we're talking about, especially if you're in memes, there's a type of person that typically comes here, especially for those of us that maybe are less educated than others. And you're all in on memes, and that's awesome. I am too. Like I'm man, this is it for me. Like I love this. This is my crack cocaine. I'm with you, right? I don't ever pretend to be an expert on anything. Like really. Like I don't know stocks. I don't know real estate. I don't know business. I know one thing. I know memes, and that's it. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm an expert or the best at that either. I'm literally like me and Jules are literally sitting here trying to platform people that we're learning from in real time and bringing this is literally, what's funny about this space? This is literally me and Jules is like DMs and Telegram, private Telegram groups that like, we act like we don't have them, but we do. Like this is the secret group that we're learning from in real time. These are our mentors. We're just bringing it to the public square. But yeah, I would just say like, we're just trying to give you context. And I would argue, and a lot of people don't like this, I would argue that 95% of meme coin investing and meme coin trading is actually context. It's actually the overall market conditions. It's 5%. Because what's funny is you guys do the inverse. You'll spend all your time and energy. Who's the dev team? What's the market, like what, supply, liquidity, blockchain
Exactly.
analysis, top
That's
100.
exactly what I was getting at. Yep.
Yeah, I can tell. So it's like 95% of what you guys spend your time on is like all these little ancillary things when it comes to a project. And yes, like that does matter. I'm not sitting here saying it's unimportant to know wallet distribution, who the teams are, what's the catalyst, what are the catalysts that are coming, exchange, all that matters. But you can have, this is it right here. You can have the perfect meme, perfect team, perfect capital raised, perfect brand, everything is in order. But you launch that meme in January of 2022, I don't care how great the meme or the team or everything is, you're going to near zero. You want to know how I found out? Go track my public wallet. Go look at all my tweets in 2022. Look at how those projects did. Some of y'all are in here. You were here to watch that horrible, terrible buzzsaw that I ran into, Jesse, And then you can also have the inverse is true too. You can have the dumbest dev team. I'm talking about a dev team that was a firefighter, a couple months prior. They were snorting cocaine and like cheated their wife for the girl in, the community. If you were in St. Thomas, you know exactly who I'm talking about. And then 3 years later, the SEC cracked down, found out you stole $400 billion, right? But that token still ran up to $7 billion. How in the world could that have happened? Because the environment was insane. You could have thrown $20 at anything, and if it had any kind of hype, it just ran. Because 95% of the meme game is context. Where are we in the cycle? Where are we in the market? And what is just ahead? No one knows with pinpoint accuracy or perfection. We're all operating on hypotheses and theories, but we're using data and we're using history and we're doing the best we can. And it's a whole lot better than, well, the community is really strong. All right, Jesse, go ahead, bro.
Yo, I love the part about the firefighter. I got two things real quick, guys. First thing, giga to 100 billion. Second thing, you guys talking about layer ones and stuff. I'm gonna tell you guys, man, I got into a pre-sale on Supra. Just go check out their X page and what they're doing. This is not some bullshit ass like layer one that somebody like copied and pasted. Go to their X page. It's Supra, SUPRA_labs. They launched on when they launched the coin, it launched on Bybit, KuCoin, and a couple other exchanges. Just check them out. It's like 2.5 cents or 3.5 cents right now. Look at the chart. I'm telling you guys, Super is going to be something.
Jesse, are you shilling a layer one right now? Am I talking to Jesse T, the meme head right now? What happened to you, dog?
Yeah, bro, I'm super bullish on it. Super bullish on it.
Yo, I want to say that.
I love you, dog.
Jesse, and giga to 100 billion. I want to say this though. There's two doors in front of you. I would say two things. I want to comment on what Henoch said, and then I want to go back to the second thing I remembered while everyone was talking that Easy said that I thought was alpha. There's two doors in front of you in crypto, and only two. There's the people on the right. Now, these people are trailer trash, and they smell like burnt cigarettes, and it's 3 a.m., and they're hitting the lever at the casino. Hoping.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Too soon.
They're white trash.
I love you guys. I love so many people.
This is the door that everybody has to go through. So it's like there's a first door and then there's a back room. Door number one that everybody has to go through when they come into crypto is the burnt cigarettes, the smell of, that smell when you see an ashtray. Just waft that up in your memory. That's the front door that everybody comes through crypto, okay? There's no skill involved. It's a numbers game. It's an odds game. That is where 95% of the crypto traders sit. We've been talking about macro. We've been talking about FedNet. We've been talking about global liquidity. We've been talking about how liquidity flows through the market. As it turns out, there's a back room. Now, these people, they make way more money. It's a private poker match. And these people are playing high stakes because they know what the fuck they're doing. And they didn't come to play with nickels. They came to play with Benjamins, and lots of them. They brought them in duffel bags. And really, the analogy, what I'm trying to paint here is that it requires zero skill and anyone can participate at the front end of the casino. And 90% of the content that you'll consume on X, on this platform, 90% of the shills that you'll get is from that group of people. But then there's and this is where it's not about people, it's about you as an individual. So you can choose to stay there and hit the slot machines and hope to get lucky. And every once in a while, you'll hear in the casino, ding, 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 ding. And then that's some guy putting paper gains as a screenshot on the timeline. And then you're sitting there going, damn, I'm not making enough money here. But then there's a back room. Now, these people, they're like the Navy SEALs of crypto traders. And here's the only difference between the herd that sits out at the front of the lobby and the people that made it to the back room. They pulled up a pen and a notepad and said, I ain't playing the peasant game. I didn't come here to get lucky. I want to play a game of strategy. So send me to the back room. I don't care what I got to learn to get there, but I'm locked in and I want to learn. And those people make way more money at a 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning in the back room with dingy lights than the people with the smell of fucking cigarettes out front. Those are the only two options. So you can either be a strategist or you can be a lottery ticket person. Everybody has to go through the front door where the lottery tickets and the casino machines are. Nobody gets a. Everybody who came to this platform, virtually, except for the Bitcoin whales, they made their own pool and jacuzzi off to the side. But everybody who trades meme coins, they have to go through that front door. It's your choice to stay there and smell like used cigarettes, or you can decide.
Jules, let me add something about that back room. I don't want people to think that like there's fuckery that goes on in the back room. Like I've had it happen to me. Like that's like just because you got money, like even in the back room, like they'll fuck you over so fast back there. They will leverage your ass up $1-2 million. They'll literally let you make 70, 80, 100,000 on a play because they can see your wallets. They understand that, hey, this motherfucker's got money. We just let him make 70. Them some bitches will take your ass for $1 million in 1 week back there too. So you have to be, because that happens too. So just like it happens on the casino floor, them guys will like. So just because you got money, be careful. You got to be really savvy, man. And that's 1 or 2 of the times you've seen me go off is because I was took for a shit ton of fucking money in the back room.
Oh, and to unfold the analogy a little bit more, and then I want to dive into something Easy said much earlier. These are where the Navy SEAL poker players are. These are the professional poker players. It's high stakes poker. So when you lose there, we're not talking about nickels. All right. So, that's the analogy I want to give, because as Enoch is talking, as Keith is talking, Kaz is talking, Frank's talking, Easy's talking, people are talking about these macro things. That's backroom talk. That's what's leaking out. And so it's like, oh man, this is so dense. And it's like, I know we brought the back room high stakes poker strategy out to the public timeline. And I'm telling you, that's what's happening right now. That's why these types of conversations don't happen out here on the shop floor. And I want to have more of these conversations. This was actually Enoch's idea. I think he even came up with the title. I started the space today and didn't realize subliminally that I had been incited by him, but I was bored, and I was like, I want to be able to nerd out, because I can't do that in every meme coin space, and just nerd out and not have to excuse it. So it's like, that's what happened today. We brought the back room, high stakes, professional poker conversation when we're talking about liquidity flow and FedNet and all that kind of stuff. These people ain't sweating about the guy that's got 50K in a meme coin and now he's down 25% because it's December and it's dumping right before January starts to take. Like, these people, they've studied the market. So they're calling the bluff on the market right now because they understand the market. That's why they're not panicking. They're just bored. One thing that Easy said, which I wanted to go back to, he was talking about grease trap and learning and things like that. I think that the biggest difficulty that I've identified for myself in this cycle, I mentioned the whole live new pairs and being able to ape from that. I remember a time when we had no Telegram bots to swap. As soon as I shill Sui to someone, it's so ironic. Now it's so built around Telegram swap bots that they're like, well, what TG bot do you use? I remember a time when it wasn't that way. You had to go on the desktop or on your phone with a D-app wallet, enabled wallet to swap. And if the transaction failed, it's like, oh, damn, got to set the slippage higher. The point I'm trying to make is that I remember a time when it was much slower. Now it's much faster. It's actually too fast for you to keep up with. And yet there's insane gains made on the daily here from some mostly from patient people, but sometimes from just high frequency traders. The alpha that I would drop on this space at this point in the conversation is, this is the cycle where you can't play it like the last cycle. I can't play my strategy like 2021, where it's 5 dudes, 20 dudes in a Telegram chat, and you pretty much have a scope on the entire market from just 20 people in a private group. You can't do that no more. It doesn't work that way no more, because the market is expanding and the speed at which things are happening in crypto is too fast for that. So what am I saying? I'm saying I think this is the cycle where you need to really hone in your personal thesis. Observe Crash, observe Murad, who's been popularized on the timeline very quickly. And look, I have my own feelings about it, but the genius thing he did is he gave focus to a market that lacked focus. It's obvious that it lacks focus when it's minting 50,000 meme coins a day. And so these guys have got personal thesis. What is your personal thesis? Is it gaming tokens? Is it, like Henoch said, the top 3-5 meme coins of each new chain? Because I've been watching in real time this past year or this year as he's done that successfully. The point I'm trying to make, I'll land the plane here because I'm trying to take a really dense idea and boil it down to something simple. You need to be a specialist in 1 to 2 things. And you need to find people who are better than you in other niches of the market. You can't possibly keep up with gaming tokens. You can't possibly keep up with all the Matt Fury narrative. You can't possibly keep up with this, that. The Asian market hasn't even entered the building. What about the anime memes? You can't keep up with this shit. You need to hone in and specialize on a sub-cluster of memes. And that's a huge risk to take because you're going to cut out 95% of the market and everything people are talking about by just staying focused on 1 to 2 categories of the meme coin market and then go find people who specialize on those other categories. We didn't have to do that last cycle. We could just be a bunch of dudes and dudettes, shout out Sarah, that we just had a kind of an eye on the market in general from each other. And you can't do that. In my opinion, I've not been able to keep up with how fast it moves. So I just find other people that are better at things and I keep an eye on it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was a realization I had to have like 9 months ago. I can't keep up with this. So I've just got to focus on, what have I focused on? Ponky. Why am I so bullish on Axel? Why am I so high quality content? That's my personal thesis, because the content is going to dominate the algo. And if the content sucks, it can't scale up amongst noise, which is why animations, high quality JPEGs, those really matter in this cycle. That's my personal thesis. And I miss out on so much other things. But Sarah caught unicorn fart dust. I don't know if she caught it from Stecky, but I noticed that Stecky is early to all these fucking meta movements. I can't do that, but Stecky does it, so I pay attention to what Stecky's talking about. I'll land the plane there.
And I just want to say that I caught it from a friend of mine. His name it's Pup Fun, and he DM'd me and he was like, dude, I just full ported unicorn fart dust. And I said, what the fuck is that? Send the CA. And so I looked it up and he's like, this is crazy. This guy made a video and you just have to watch the video. But I mean, for somebody to tell me that they full ported, I fucking aped hard. So, and then I watched the video, the 17-minute long video, and I was sold on it because the guy, Ron, is so just like wholesome and sweet. And, yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to shill, but yeah, I was happy when I saw that Stecky was in. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like it's always bomb when you get in shit and then you see these bigger people that you have faith and trust in that are also going hard for it. But yeah, Stecky aped hard at like I think he said 14 mil. So yeah.
But this is the point. Observe, Sarah was not aware of a meme that was happening that has definitely consumed some mind share, and somebody she knew was tapped into that vein. That's what I'm trying to say. There it is, exemplified.
Yeah.
The quality of the people that tapped in various categories of memes, you can add extra zeros to what you could potentially take away from this market.
Yeah, and before we go to Keith, it kind of leans into your strategy, which is like, everyone kind of has a superpower. If you've been in memes and you're successful, it's likely because you do have a superpower in a segment of it. So like for me personally, like I'm a people guy, so like I bet on people, which means that like if I can like pretty much meet the team, know what they've done, I could probably guess like the market cap, of where it's going. And where, and so for me it's people. And like, if I know who's involved, who's connected to it, I could pretty much tell you like where the meme is headed. And that's my one power. I don't know anything else. I don't know people, I don't know charts, I don't know TA, I don't know Jack, right? And I gotta have a football team, these Allen's illustration around me to support me on everything else. So like Stecky, my brother, that dude, his superpower is identifying new metas. Like no one catches metas as early as fast as that guy does. He has other powers too, but yeah, everyone has their superpower. Like crack, like everyone. So like just identify what yours is, identify what others are, and leverage that in your tool chest. My bad, Keith.
No, it's always great to hear you. And I remember being in the spaces with you when we both got in Myro and Solana. And that was kind of the point I wanted to make early, is that you don't want to lose money in crypto. You want to make it, right? And you could do that by getting early CAs and investing in aping or trusting people, or you could look at the history of what's happened and know that it's going to probably happen again. And what do I mean by that? You saw Phantom get integrated with Solana, and that pretty much was the catalyst to the meme cycle of Solana. You then saw on Base that Phantom got integrated and then did a 2x. And now we have the announcement on Sui that it's getting integrated, but it has not been integrated yet. And so you could almost guarantee, not financial advice, that there's going to be a 2x on Sui. It doesn't matter what point we're in the cycle. Some people may think we're at the top. Some people might think we're topping in 2026. It doesn't matter. You have an opportunity to get an easy 2x on a simple play like a layer one. And then, like you said, when you look at the top 3 memes or top 5 memes on that, if their total market cap is not even 3 to 5% of the market cap of that layer one, which that is on Sui right now, it's under 2%, the top 3 memes. If it's going to be anything like Ethereum, it's going to be anything like Solana, when that layer one takes off, that those memes are going to be the leverage bet, and they're also going to take off. And so I haven't been a part of any meme so far where the actual layer one devs are vibing with the meme creators. Like right now, I'm in the DMs with Miston Labs. We're going to be doing collaborative spaces in 2 weeks. I'm in DMs with the other top 2 meme projects. And so I don't remember having that on Solana. So it's just this unique situation right now. And then you have, when you say experienced devs or devs with money, you could see by the way that you're getting exchange listings, you could see things like right now with getting wormholes and stuff. That takes real capital, and that's not capital getting back in the team's pocket. It's just capital that's going into building these projects. So if you're early on a layer one and then you're early on a meme, everybody in this room has their favorite meme. I see a lot of the Bretts and the Ponkies, and that community, it's successful now because it's been out for 8-10 months, 1 year, and you all got in early. Well, you have that opportunity right now, in my opinion, on Sui. And I know I'm biased because I'm part of one of those projects, but I'm not saying even invest in mine. Invest in the other top 3. But I think it's a huge opportunity, and you could see everybody in this room has been through that already. All the speakers have. So just learn from it. You don't have to make the same mistakes. You could keep on going on pumped out fun and gambling on shitters for fun, but don't do that with your full port. Take that other 50% of your port and make those real long-term bets right now with your conviction plays. So I thought of that when we talked about Phantom and the integration. So something for everybody to look forward to in 2025.
Yo, I'm gonna say this. I am kind of blown away today by the response to this space. It's just a random Saturday space.
Sorry.
I know. You did, Enoch. Enoch hit me up a few days ago. Then, like a jerk, I decided to go ahead and execute without, in my defense, Enoch, I didn't really think about it. I was just bored.
Terrible.
And I was like,
shame on you.
Let's do big brains. He hits me up. He's like, bro, we should do like a big brains with these big brain people, right? So let me do this. If you enjoyed or got any value from this, hit me or Enoch up in DMs or drop a comment below. We're trying to get a gauge for it because, and not just fishing for compliments.
I'm fishing for compliments. I've got my net out. You better send them. Stop. I don't want your ETH or your soul. I want your compliments. Okay.
Yeah, drop us something in the comments to this space. It's pinned up in the jumbo, or DM either me or Enoch message request or something, because we're talking about maybe doing this beyond just today's space, maybe doing something a little bit more frequent. and bringing in people that we see in the space that are really smart, or people we've identified, and having some of these bigger brain conversations. And it can be a good onboarding tool for your friends, you know, and maybe help spark something for you forming a thesis. What Enoch and I would plan it out. We would plan it out to be something that wouldn't get stale after a few spaces. But if you are interested in something like that, definitely drop us a comment, shoot us a DM or whatever, and we'll definitely go up, because it's time to rug the space. I thought I was going to. My wife texted me and she's like, yo, that thing we were going to go do. And like, I missed that 2 hours ago. So, yeah. So your boy is about to get in his sexy clothes and go have sexy time, and just thought 200 people needed to know.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. A completely unnecessary piece of information. Thank you.
Yo, and one thing I realized on my vacation, y'all need to have more sex.
Okay? No, you need to lock in, bro. It's a bull run. We're not doing any of that, dog.
Well, it just depends on how efficient people are at that. Some people it takes longer than others. But anyway, y'all need to have more sex, okay? That's what I realized on vacation. People are too grumpy. I would just, man, I would be having a blast, if you know what I'm saying. I'd be sitting there on the beach, and then I'd scroll the timeline. I'm like, damn, these people need to have more sex. So maybe that's the alpha you needed. Okay, that's the macro meme conversation. Have more sex.
Does a rose count?
Something. Anyway, y'all, on that note, I'm rugging it. Great space today. Thank you who contributed. Enoch, man, the myth, the legend, poured a lot into my life. Actually convinced me to come on the timeline. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do this. We met in October of last year. I'm like, I'm not sure, man. And then I came to the timeline, and Enoch poured a lot into me and helped me on my come up. So I really appreciate it. Him and Stecky both got a lot of love for them. Great dudes in the space. Drop Enoch a follow. Jesse, shout out Giga 100 billion. Let's go. Sarah, Saga, Kaz, Frankie. Yo, Frankie's got spaces that he's starting to run. I'm gonna plug that. Drop him a follow.
Wait, can I plug Axel? Because Axel to 5 billion might be FUD at these levels, to be honest.
Bro, here's the thing. Axel, now I have to give a rant. Okay, we're not closing it out. This is, so I hold both Axel, Lofi, and I'm starting to get into a couple others. All right, I just haven't taken it to the timeline yet. And so I'll hold multiple memes and I'll go, what's the strength of this one? What's the strength of that one? All right. I stole this from Soka Data. Axel is the bonk. Bonk built the bonk bot. These guys are builders. Lofi is the whiff. Whiff was largely driven by influencers and things like that. You've got the bonk and the whiff play here. And the thing I love about Axel is, since we are in Sui, and it's Japanese, I think, for water. I think that's right. It's a water creature. The branding is on point. The IP rights are owned by them. That may not matter a lot to you now. It does later on in the bull run when people take meme coins. I know Giga worked really hard on that, so shout out to Giga. Having the rights to these memes that you're operating with really matters, because artists don't knock on your door when you're at 200 mil and no one's talking about crypto. But when the president of the United States talks about a Bitcoin reserve and they see that shit at $2 billion, yeah, they start serving cease and desists. I'm being dead ass serious right now. That happened last cycle. And so I love what Axel is building. They have wormhole to Solana. You can buy it on Solana as well. They've built a game. They're building a utility. These are the builders of the top 5. And that's not taking anything away from the other ones. The Hippo, Lofi, they're just different. And it's okay to own different memes. But when I look at Axel, that's what I love about it. I love the content. I love Keith. He's a great builder. He's a cool dude. So shout out Axel, man.
Well, I'm here. Bobo Billions. Run it, baby. All right, Jules. Rub the space whenever you want.
All right, y'all. Real quick question, though. Kaz, I wanted to ask you, just while we leave, I like to end on, like, how did you get into crypto? Do you mind sharing with us how you got into crypto?
Was that like a random? Like, what just happened there?
I know what you're gonna do.
No,
do it.
Just tell us. How did you get into crypto?
I watched the charts rip.
Okay. And what was the aha moment where you're like, I got to get into this?
Oh, come on, dude, just rug it.